Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Dr. Ayesha Siddika Shammi, lecturer, Department of Physiology at Bashundhara Ad-din Medical College. In today's class, we will learn about physiology of thyroid gland. Thyroid is a very important gland in our body. It serves various functions. Actually, the thyroid gland is the largest gland of our body. The weight of it is about 15 to 20 gram in adult. The thyroid gland is a butterfly shaped gland or H-shaped gland. It is located in our neck. In our neck, it is located immediately below larynx and in front and east side of trachea. This thyroid gland has two lobes, two lateral lobes and a connecting isthmus. This thyroid gland is composed of a large number of follicles. These are follicles. This one is one follicle, this one is another follicle. In between follicles, there are blood vessels. The thyroid gland is very vascular gland, and between these follicles there is another type of cell called C cell or parafollicular cell. These follicles are composed of a single layer of cuboidal epithelial cell. This cuboidal epithelial cell secretes thyroid hormone, and in between the follicles there is a secretory substance. This portion it is called colloid. This colloid contains thyroglobulin. The colloid is abundant in thyroglobulin. And now, what are the hormones that are secreted from thyroid gland? From the thyroid gland, from these follicular cells, T3 or triiodothyronine and T4 thyroxine hormone are released. And from the parafollicular cell or C cell, calcitonin is released. Calcitonin is the hormone which regulates the blood calcium level. Now, we will learn about biosynthesis of thyroid hormones. Before going to biosynthesis, we have to know what are the raw material that are needed for biosynthesis of thyroid hormone. First, very important one is iodine, and second one is tyrosine. So, iodine and tyrosines are the raw material for synthesis of thyroid hormone. Iodine is a micronutrient which are required in our body. In adult, it is 100 to 150 microgram per day. I am writing here, in adult, daily requirement of iodine is 100 to 150 microgram per day or 1 milligram per week or 50 milligram per year. But in pregnancy, the daily requirement increases to 200 microgram per day. So, what happens? When we intake this iodine orally, and it is absorbed by our gastrointestinal tract and comes to blood. From blood, the iodine is rapidly excreted by the kidney, but the 1/5 portion of ingested iodine is taken by the thyroid gland for synthesis of thyroid hormone. Then what are the sources of iodine? Main sources of iodine is seafood or sea fish or vegetable growing near the sea land. But everywhere there is not sea, there are not seas. So, to prevent iodine deficiency, common table salt are iodide or fortified with iodine. For preventing iodine deficiency, common table salt is iodide with 1 part of sodium iodide, 1 part of sodium iodide with 1 lakh part of sodium chloride. And tyrosine is a amino acid and it is present in thyroglobulin molecule. Then biosynthesis. I will draw a figure here. Now, how thyroid hormone is synthesized in our body. At first, this portion is blood. I have already drawn a figure of follicle. This one was a follicular cell, this portion is colloid, and there were blood vessels. I am drawing this figure in larger scale here. This one is cell, thyroid follicular cell, and this portion is colloid. Here this portion is blood, then thyroid cell, colloid. This one is basolateral membrane, this one is apical membrane. Now what happens? When the iodine comes in the blood, then the iodide form is enters into the thyroid follicular cell. It enters into the thyroid follicular cell by sodium iodide symporter or co-transporter. Here one iodine along with 2 sodium enter into the cell by sodium iodide co-transport or symporter. But this one is facilitated diffusion. How the energy is gained? This energy is gained from this pump, that is primary active transport sodium potassium ATPase pump. Actually, when the sodium is pumped outside the cell, inside the cell there is low concentration of sodium. So a concentration gradient is formed. By this concentration gradient, the iodine enters into the cell with 2 sodium. Then the iodine is transported via cell and comes to the apical membrane. In the apical membrane, there is a transport protein called pendrin. This pendrin, or another name of pendrin, is chloride iodide co-transporter. Here iodide ion comes out of the cell, and when it comes out of the cell in the colloid, it is oxidized by hydrogen peroxide and peroxidase enzyme to form iodine. So I was talking about this process. When the iodide ion enters into the cell, it is called iodine trapping or iodide trapping. Then it comes out of the cell and comes in the colloid and oxidized to form iodine. This is called oxidation of iodide ion to iodine. Then this iodine combined with thyroglobin molecule, this is binding of iodine with thyroglobin molecule, is called organification of thyroglobulin. Then after organification, the iodine is bind with tyrosine molecule, that is iodination of tyrosine molecule occur, and after that coupling occur. By iodination of tyrosine molecule, at first MIT will be formed. MIT means monoiodotyrosine. Then one monoiodotyrosine and another monoiodotyrosine will be formed, diiodotyrosine. At first monoiodotyrosine is formed, then diiodotyrosine is formed. Then more and more monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine will couple together and form thyroid hormone T3 and T4. One monoiodotyrosine combines with one diiodotyrosine or coupled with one diiodotyrosine will form T3, and one diiodotyrosine with one monoiodotyrosine will form reverse T3, and 2 diiodotyrosine molecule will combine or couple to form T4. Now these hormones are synthesized in the colloid and attached to the thyroglobulin molecule. Then how it will release or come into the cell? How it will release? In the apical membrane of the thyroid follicular cell, it sends pinocytic forms, pinocytic vesicle, or a pseudopod is formed and a pinocytic vesicle is formed. Then thyroglobulin molecule or this colloid droplet enter into the thyroid follicular cell. In the thyroid follicular cell, there are protease hormone. This protease hormone break down the thyroglobulin and release T3 and T4. This T3 and T4 readily diffuses from the thyroid follicular cell into the blood, and it is released in the blood. But what happened here? Monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine molecules are also present, but this monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine is not functionally active. It has no functional action, or these are not thyroid hormone. So this monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine, diiodotyrosine is bind with iodide ion. So by deiodinase enzyme, this monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine will be broken down and iodine will be released. This iodine is again recycled and used by the thyroid follicular cell for synthesis of new thyroid hormone. Now our thyroid hormone T3 and T4 are synthesized. T4 and T3 are synthesized and it comes in the blood. How it will remain in the blood? In the blood it is mainly remained bound with plasma protein that are synthesized by the liver and transported via blood. And when it will goes to the tissue or cell, then it will release from this plasma protein and the physiological action will be exerted. What are the plasma protein? Plasma proteins are thyroid binding globulin, thyroid binding pre-albumin and albumin. These are the plasma protein with this thyroid hormone binds. Actually, chemically the thyroid hormone are derivatives of amino acid tyrosine. These act by gene activation and the receptor of thyroid hormone present in the cell nucleus. Now, what are the normal level of this hormone? Normal level, percentage and half-life. Normal level of T4 is 8 microgram per dl and T3 is 0.15 microgram per dl. Percentage is T4 is 93% and T3 is 7%. Half-life T4 6 days and T3 about 1 day. So, here we can see that T4 is more in amount and T3 is less in amount. The percentage of T4 is 93% and T3 is 7%. Half-life of T4 is more and half-life of T3 is less. But physiologically the T3 is more active and more potent. T3 is 4 times more potent than T4. And actually the 90 to 99% of the T4 is converted to T3 and exert their function. Now the question is, why the T4 is less active and T3 is more active? Actually in the cell the number of T3 receptors are more and the T4 is more bound to plasma protein. That's why the T3 is more active than the T4. And there is an important fact about the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland can store these thyroid hormones for at least 2 to 3 months. If there is deficiency of thyroid hormone, the thyroglobulin molecule, the tyrosine of thyroglobulin molecule combine 30 molecules of T4 and some molecules of T3 in the form of colloid droplet. And those are stored in the thyroid follicular cell. And up to 2 to 3 months, if there is deficiency occur or the body cannot synthesize thyroid hormone, from this colloid or this thyroglobulin molecule, thyroid hormone can be released and supply the body. So, if there is deficiency of thyroid hormone in our body, the symptoms will come after 2 to 3 months. Then what are the function of thyroid hormone? This thyroid hormone has wide range of function in our body. It has the number one function, it activates the transcription process of gene. So, hereby by protein synthesis it synthesizes structural protein, transport protein and various kind of substrate that generally increase the functional activity of our body or all cells of our body. Then it has calorigenic action. Thyroid hormone increases the number and activity of mitochondria. It increases the oxygen consumption and heat production, and activity increases the activity of sodium potassium ATPase pump, and it also increases BMR. Excess thyroid hormone can increase BMR up to 60 to 100%. And then effect on growth. Actually, the thyroid hormone has a general and a special effect on growth. The role of thyroid hormone or the action of thyroid hormone starts in our body when we are in a intrauterine life. It is very important for us. Actually, we need the thyroid hormone for general and development of the brain during intrauterine life. Then, what are the functions on metabolism? On carbohydrate metabolism, thyroid hormone increases the blood glucose level. By how the thyroid hormone increases blood glucose level? Thyroid hormone increases blood glucose level by increased uptake of glucose by the cell, increased rate of absorption from the GIT, increased gluconeogenesis and increased glycolysis. And on the fat metabolism, thyroid hormone increases free fatty acid in the blood by mobilizing the fatty acid from the store or mobilization of lipid from the fatty acid fat and oxidation of free fatty acid. And on protein metabolism, excess amount of thyroid hormone causes protein catabolism. And on respiration, thyroid hormone increases the depth and rate of respiration. And on cardiovascular system, thyroid hormone increases the cardiac output, increase heart rate, increase force of contraction, increase blood pressure. It increases the systolic and diastolic pressure and widens the pulse pressure. And on GIT, it increases the motility of GIT and increased secretion of gastric thyroid hormone increase the motility of GIT and increase secretion of digestive juice. And on reproduction, thyroid hormone is needed in pregnancy for normal maintenance of pregnancy. In male, lack of thyroid hormone causes loss of libido, and excess thyroid hormone may cause impotency. In female, lack of thyroid hormone may cause menorrhagia, polymenorrhea and irregular menstrual period in some female, and excess thyroid hormone may cause oligomenorrhea. Then the regulation of thyroid hormone secretion. Thyroid gland is under the control of hypothalamus and pituitary gland. Then regulation of thyroid hormone secretion. From the hypothalamus, thyrotropin releasing hormone is secreted. Then this thyrotropin releasing hormone will act on thyrotrope of anterior pituitary to release thyroid stimulating hormone. This thyroid stimulating hormone will act on thyroid gland to release thyroid hormone T3 and T4. This T3 and T4 has negative feedback on hypothalamus and anterior pituitary. When there is more T3 and T4 in the blood, it will give negative feedback on hypothalamus and there will be decreased release of thyrotropin releasing hormone and decreased release of thyroid stimulating hormone, and finally decreased secretion of T3 and T4. So today's class we learned about the physiology of thyroid gland, that is biosynthesis of thyroid gland, function of thyroid gland, regulation of thyroid gland, and and how the thyroid hormone is synthesized in our body, how it is stored, and in the next class we will learn about the abnormalities of thyroid gland. Up to that, stay healthy, stay happy. Assalamu alaikum.